that's about how I feel right now. So let's do this. Steph, I'm live earlier than normal. Yes, I will admit that. That's completely true. But by about this time of day in New York, this was the scene 20 years ago. Yes. Actually, Steph, it is amazing outside in Houston right now. This day, 20 years ago, was like this. Blue skies, perfect weather, and I'm talking about Houston. I'm not talking about where planes were falling out of the sky like New York was having. I'm talking about what was actually here. Sharon, howdy ma'am, great to see you. Todd, howdy sir, great to see you as well. Now, oh, Paul says hi too. All right, nice. But yeah, Steph, that's why I went live kind of early. I mean, early for me. Early-ish for me. No, not really early for me. Actually, I was going to go on earlier and Howdy, Piper on the 45. Great to have you in today, sir. I was going to go on earlier and basically do a full-on memories there. Burley Nut Bob, good to have you as well. So here's where I'm at right now. I woke up this morning with my back all stiffened up because I guess I was crawling around too much in the attic. Yay. Yeah, a little bit of pain. No big deal. Okay. It is what it is. Take an aspirin, cry about it into my first cup of coffee. Woohoo! Drip, drip, woohoo! Drip, drip. Okay, that's done. Load a bowl. Hey, some of y'all recognize this as being the VRX21. That's right. Pipe I actually made this year. Oh, don't worry, Steph. Thank you for feeling some kind of way about it. I'll get over it. It's fine. But yes, I'm loading Voodoo Queen. One of my favorite blends, quite honestly. Into this particular pipe. One thing I love about this pipe, you don't have to actually pack it down super tight for it to still smoke great. But you can. Now, for those of you who've never had Voodoo Queen, I'm going to tell you, it has a scent kind of similar to a barnyard. And that might throw some people off. Howdy, Scott, at the 16th day. Great to have y'all all in here. Now look, I woke up to YouTube telling me that I had violated their policy and had spread medical misinformation. So if any of y'all would feel in some way, shape, or form that any of my fact-based and promise to never lie to you has in some way, shape, or form been misinformation, can you please tell me what the hell you think it was? And oh, YouTube, being that you won't give me a timestamp so that I can actually look through the whole hour-plus video from Thursday, and you somehow seem to think that I lied about it, give me a damn timestamp about it, or put my video back on there. If you can't handle the truth, don't blame me. Just because medical fact and scientific fact has disagreed with your WHO bullshit does not mean that it is me that's in the wrong or spreading medical misinformation. I did say I will not take the damn vaccine. I don't care how good it's been proven. I did say big pharma companies have been given carte blanche to put this out there with no legal liability. That is also true. Kamala came out during the election period and said she wouldn't trust this virus, or sorry, this vaccine. I have a certain legal researcher that looked that up. We all know where the WPC is. Might be because he's a law professor that they don't want to screw with him on that one. Biden recently came out and said, oh, I'm going to make this crap mandatory. But during the election, he says, it shouldn't be mandatory. Neither should these face masks be mandatory. These are things that people have actually said. Oh, and by the way, the Delta variant has proven to go right through this damn vaccine. In about 75% of people who are vaccinated still are receiving the Delta variant with the same exact consequences as what they are if they didn't have any vaccine at all. I can prove that by going into Houston and proving it to you. You know, Houston, that damn medical community that literally, if you're a senator and you get shot in the head, or maybe it's just a congressperson and get shot in the head, you're going to end up in Houston so that you can actually walk and talk again. Hey, y'all remember that one? I remember that one. How about heads of state that have heart issues? We've had several fly into Houston just so that they could get the best possible care. People from all over the world come to Houston just so that they can be someplace where the cutting edge and the top of the line and the brightest and best all come to specialize and study and learn from the best of the best. The ones that want to sit there and say Houston isn't, I want you to prove me wrong. As far as YouTube telling me that I somehow violated one of their policies and spread misinformation, prove it, motherfuckers. Yeah, I'm probably going straight to banned. Here it is 3 times now. And you know what? I will find a way around that ban and I will be right back on. I got nothing but time. And I can make another email address. You want to watch. That's right. So YouTube, Google, Alphabet Incorporated, or Alphabet Industries, or whatever the hell that one is. I know where all 3 of you are. You ain't getting out of this one until you can give me some damn fucking proof. Don't like it too damn bad. And anybody who wants to sit there and be a problem about this, y'all just remember, I'm right here. You bring your ass to Houston and come talk to me. Don't do it over an email if you want to be all bitchy about it. I will still be here. You pick an airport and a time, I'll pick you up. I'll guarantee your safety. But you ain't gonna like what I have to say, not face to face. Oh, by the way, I'll drag you to those hospitals where I've gotten my information from. You want to see it up close, face to face? I'm game if you are. Something tells me nobody's showing up. Hey YouTube, I don't take a day off. I'm like this 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. I've been through too much, I've seen too much to ever change. If that offends or gets you upset, bye. Click the down button on your way out and leave. I am okay with that statement too. All right. Scott, that's pretty close to true. They don't know the side effects from the shot, and they won't tell you what's in it. How do you know if you're allergic to something if they won't tell you the ingredients? How in the world is the common flu virus, which kills massive amounts of people every year, how in the heck is the flu virus completely eradicated? Hell, do you realize that people that died from regular heart disease has dropped by like 85% since the COVID virus came on? You would not believe the information you can pull up online if you know where to go. Jesus Christ. Misinformation. You want to talk to me about misinformation? Long as big freaking companies are getting told that they can do whatever they want to and experiment on people as if they are guinea pigs on a global level without the safety trials, without the protocols. Y'all remember when Tylenol 3 was considered a safe thing? It had codeine in it. It was actually available over the counter. I actually remember that. For a very short amount of time, it was available over the counter. And then the next wave of it came through, and suddenly everybody figured it out that, oh my God, that stuff's not safe. It's got to be given with a prescription. So now they lock that crap up because it's not safe. Scott, I guess you're right. Yeah, they never claim that you're not going to get the virus. Ooh, Pipe Monkey Gary. That is tempting. Something tells me from where you're at, you're not actually flying to Houston. Though one thing's for certain. For you, we'll go to the gun range. Just a second. Wasp doing a ground crawl at me, and I'm not about to go getting stung. Sorry. Jap Zero. No, honestly, it is it's a model airplane. It's built to actual full size. It's got a different engine in it, but it looks exactly like a Spitfire. That guy flies out of a very, very close, close to me airport. It's a private, small plane airport. His Spitfire is a beautiful plane. And I'm sorry, to anybody who loves aeronautical instruments of all time, if you do not think that the Spitfire from Great Britain, or England as it was, is just a beautiful plane, then you probably need to go ahead and never look at another airplane, because I'm sorry, but it was one of the prettiest ones ever created. Can't help it much. Velvet ants and wingless wasps. Well, this sucker had wings, but it was walking along on the concrete. I'm not about to, in any way, shape, or form, let it crawl up under here and then crawl up my leg and sting the hell out of me if I can just go ahead and take 2 steps and step on him. I wouldn't have a problem shooting any of those. But bring your big boy britches, because the single shot bolt action Barrett is a bit of a monster when it goes off. There is a range here in the Houston area that I can go to with that thing. I remember it's a 50 cal. That 50 cal Browning BMG shell that it uses. Oh my God. Let's just say that it's got a lot of oomph. Todd, I'm telling you, there's a whole lot of just craziness in this world that is medical misinformation that's been spread to us. And if you can take from a much broader source, you will find the slips in the cracks where they are actually telling the truth. And you can aggregate that down, and you can get to the point where you can actually start seeing a much more clear picture. Now, a lot of people are not going to like that I've actually told this. I'm not telling you where to look. But what got me into it was the fact that my mom was a nurse. And while I was an electrician, you know where all of her nurse friends asked for an electrician to come over and install a ceiling fan or give a look at something that's wrong in their house or whatever? Yeah. So you know who still has a whole lot of friends in the medical community? Yeah. So, you know, when I ask a question from these people who are there on the front lines, they don't have a problem just saying, yeah, well, this is the information I've got at present. I can find those facts. And that's probably what YouTube doesn't like, is that I put facts out there. I don't have a reason to lie to people. I don't care if you trust me or not. In fact, there's only one lie so far that I've actually told on YouTube. And that was due to Parsimonious Piper. And his 2 truths and a lie thing. Oh, by the way, just in case y'all want to know, because a lot of people have already been revealing, yes, I am no longer in any way, shape, or form in contact with my first serious girlfriend. In fact, she passed away, God, it's been a while now. Now, don't get me wrong, there were some girls I was kind of like pretty serious about previous of her. And some that I went back to after being with her. But by serious, I mean like moved in together, wanted to actually have a life together. Well, like I said, she died a few years back. Some sort of weird bone cancer that they were having a real hard time figuring out. It's my Aunt Joan and her dog. Dogs are so much fun when you have cats. Actually, her dog is blind and doesn't bother the cats, so it's fine. Good morning, Joe. And yes, Bob, yes, 50 BMG. And in case people don't know what BMG stands for, yes, it's Browning Machine Gun. Howdy, Joan. She's who I often enough ask, hey, what does this smell like so that I can get a test on room note? That's the woman. She likes the way pipe smoke smells, for the most part. And some of them, she goes, oh my God. And that's how I know that one gets high ranks in pipe test. Well, Gary, yes, I actually have a Barrett. It is not the semi-automatic. It's nowhere near as complicated as all that. I was in a good spot money-wise at a certain point in time, and I wanted the 50 cal. I already knew enough about the 50 cal. Of course, I had experienced the version that comes in the Ma Deuce. And I found that there was this place called Barrett, and they were trying to sell some, I guess, surplus bolt action 50 cal that used a 50 BMG. And I looked at the price tag, and it was high. Oh my God, it was high. But I kept coming back to, damn, I want one. Now, I tell you, the guys at the range kind of freak out when they see that big monster coming out of the bag. Because it starts off and you just see the butt of it. And it keeps coming. And it keeps coming. And it keeps coming. And you get all the way out with it, and the damn thing is huge. It's much larger than the average firearm that you're just taking to the range. I mean, there's guys out there with 30-06. They know a rifle when they see it. But the Barrett, when it's coming out of the damn bag, they're like, oh my God. Is he pulling a freight train out of the bag? They finally get to see what it is, and I've seen actual people immediately start packing their stuff up so that they can get out of there. The only range that I go to, and I'm not telling you which one that happens to be with this particular rifle, all my other stuff I can go to multiple ranges. There's only one that I'm allowed to go to that I know of. And I call ahead a month at a time, and I schedule that time so that I can be there and I can have a lane out on one end or the other, or dead set in the middle, with plenty of their people watching to make sure that A, nobody's running up on me for it. Happened once. And B, that I am not trying to I'm not trying to do anything nefarious other than sight in, put 10 down range. I've never gone more than 10. One, it's too expensive to shoot. Two, oh my God. As Gary just pointed out, It kicks like a mule. And if it wasn't for that muzzle brake on it that looks like a tank, you know what I'm talking about. The people who actually know what I'm talking about. Yeah. That flat. I don't even know the specific shape of it. I know what it is. I know what it does. It ports the expanding gas back a different direction to help take away the amount of kick. If it wasn't for that, you'd break a shoulder first shot. But unless you were like some real huge steel boned kind of creation. Wolverine could probably handle it without the muzzle brake, but normal humans are probably going to just about die from it. Oh, Deadpool could probably do it too. He could just regrow his arm after it fell off. I'm sure there's got to be somebody in the DC universe that also has extremely good healing and the ability to repair everything instantly. But unless you're one of those guys or Clark Kent, yeah, you probably want to make sure you got that muzzle brake on the Barrett. You know what? Damn, I'm getting way off topic here. You know what we were supposed to be talking about? We were supposed to be talking about 20 years ago. Y'all remember 20 years ago? That's from the second plane right there, as it had come in and hit the second tower, or the second tower that was hit anyways. It's one of the few things that I don't accurately remember. Was the North Tower the first one hit, or was it the South Tower that was the first one hit? Was the North Tower Tower 1 and the second Tower Tower 2? Or was Tower 2 hit first and then Tower 1? Yeah, Scott, y'all get ready, because there's a few more. This one is a little while later, and I'm going to point some things out for you. Okay, as you can see, two towers are burning, and there's this weird puff of smoke that's somewhere towards, let's call it the middle of the screen right now. If you look above that puff of smoke, you will actually see how there's about 20 floors, maybe 25 floors, that are suddenly heading to the ground, and they are going to literally carve a path right through all the floors below them. This is as the second tower that was hit is physically collapsing. If you look real close, what did I do? I'm going to be a lot closer to you. So if you look real close, you can see the debris here that is falling as the building truly collapses. And then if you look here, you can see that the top of the tower is leaning quite a bit in one direction. And yeah, so this would be as people started dying en masse. Don't get me wrong, people started dying quite a bit before this, either from planes hitting the towers or from fire and smoke inhalation. And Well, there's a lot of reasons why people die, but over 3,000 people died in the space of about 2 hours. A little bit less than that, quite honestly, but because it was 102 minutes. Okay, in 102 minutes, if you add 18 minutes, that would be 120. 120 is 2 hours. So when you hear me say in the space of about 2 hours, do note that I am putting a approximation and giving you a close to accurate statement there. Let's see. Very shortly after that, you would get this scene. This scene is actually from when the top of the first tower to fall was pretty close to right there in the middle of that debris field. You'll note that these two pictures were taken pretty much from the same location. That's because somebody was standing there with multiple cameras and rolls of film, and they were just going at it, filming it as fast and as hard as they could. I don't know who that guy was that was taking the picture, or girl. Might have been a girl. Don't get me wrong. Just say it was a person. This was not some sort of video camera, but there it is. That's the horribleness of this. People decided that people in New York should die en masse, and then they made it happen. And then the first tower that was hit. I do know that the first tower that was hit, it took a while for it to fall. But I remember this. It split like a banana as it was disintegrating. I mean, you could see the outside of those walls are just coming out in big, huge chunks. People like to say, oh, why did other buildings even get damaged? They fell right on top of each other. Well, you see that pile of debris that's coming off of the right-hand side from this picture? That's several thousand tons of building from a very high location that's about to slam into another building. And look, there's buildings in front of this that look like they're just tiny compared to the amount of crap that's raining out of the sky here. And, you know, the smoke is still going up, so that tells you how close to the actual immediate time when that building started to cave in on itself that this is actually happening. Horrible, right? Don't worry, it gets worse. Oh, I screwed up there. This one showed up way over here. Okay, we gotta do away with the chat box for a minute. Okay, we're gonna try that one again. Gotta grab it quick before it goes away. This one is an aerial view of that same event as it was transpiring. Look at how far out the debris field is just shooting out from this. Now, if you looked just past that tower that's falling, you would see where there used to be another tower. Used to be one. It ain't there. By this point, a couple hundred police officers and firefighters are probably laying on the ground dead or about to be buried in a pile of rubble that is several thousand tons worth. This day 20 years ago was horrible. Now we have a tower that is 1,776 feet tall because of that spire. You see the spire that's up there? Makes that building 1,776 feet tall. They put that building in what I would consider record time for New York. When you consider how long it took for several of the other buildings to be made. And their safety record while building it was impeccable. They took every precaution. I believe one of the guys that I talked to, one of the talks that they had was, enough people have died at this site. We don't have any reason for more people to be dying. Thank you, Gary. I'm fairly certain that a lot of people were very greatly affected by this event. And it was horrible. I can tell you that by roughly this time of day, most everything had already been done. It was done. It is 9:03 here, so it would have been 10:03 in New York. It all started, according to research that I did, at 8:46. That's the time the first plane actually hit the tower. Previous to that, it was just a hijacking of some planes. Then they started crashing them into buildings. And the world, not just America, the world changed. Suddenly, to get on a plane, you have to be damn near strip searched. A little bitty tiny pocket knife, something that fit on a keychain that really wouldn't be much of use to anybody, could get you thrown to the floor where 2 days previously nobody would have even looked at it. Don't get me wrong, you're not carrying a buck knife or a damn Highlander Bowie from Gil Hibben up on a plane. But I had a little bitty nothing of a pocket knife that used to go with me on planes. Connected to a keychain, I could get splinters out of a finger with it. It was pretty much useless as a knife, but it was useful as a tool. Well, Gary, a lot of the people who are conspiracy theorists about the towers collapsing, they have never been on the inside of a blacksmith shop or taken any basic metallurgy classes. They have no clue. All they hear is structural steel. It has to be this hot before it melts. Yeah, melts. As in becomes totally liquid. Not at which point structural steel has already become as completely bendable as a wet noodle, which is much lower. And if you look at those towers when they fell, and if you knew how they were constructed, you would know that they would actually fall straight down. And if you took an average of what, I believe the first tower that fell was 30 stories worth. That's how much of a chunk fell. You took the average weight of about what 30 stories worth of that building. It comes to about 100, or maybe it's 100,000 tons. You know what? It was a lot of weight. And you consider that you have just taken that amount of weight and you have turned it into a drop hammer. And you drop that amount of weight on a waiting target. It will either drive it into the ground or it will cause it to split. Now, if you cause it to split, which those videos actually, or sorry, those pictures that I've shown earlier prove that it did, as it goes down, it will start to tear out chunks of gas lines that are there to provide heat or, well, it's heat or heat. But trust me, there were gas lines all throughout the building. So if the gas lines are coming apart and there's fire and electrical sparks and the gas mixes enough with inrushing air or present air, then it becomes a explosive vapor, and there's a very logical reason for the explosions as the towers were falling. You got to remember, a building that size can hold a lot of that gas. And the president at the time, yeah, president at the time was not that kind of guy. His daddy might have been. But the whole thing about Bin Laden being like still alive and walking around, I don't know why he was after 1993. Oh, in case anybody wants to try and disprove me about the metallurgy of the structural steel, there is a video on YouTube with a guy who is in a blacksmith shop. He sits there and takes a bar, round stock of structural steel, puts it in the hardy hole of his anvil. I remember, anvils are pretty heavy. And he pulls it over, and when it's not heated, it literally lifts the anvil right up. Hey, no problem. Lever long enough, he's going to move the world. And then he puts a different bar, or he takes a different bar that he's already put into his forge and pulls it out. And he shows you that the bar is not liquid yet, so it hasn't reached melting temperatures. And he puts it in the hardy hole, and with one finger he lays that sucker over on top of the anvil and shows you that he can just flop it around like it's a wet noodle. You do not have to have metal actually melt for it to become elastic and flexible enough to cause major structural issues. I watched that video several times, mostly so I could absorb all the information. I'm sure it's still out there. So on the morning of 9/11, 2001, I woke up, and just like any other day, I went to work as an electrician. The job I was at was installing the electrical everything inside of a Barnes and Noble, or what would become a Barnes and Noble. I didn't know anything had happened. Oh, sorry, Bob. You have a great day. Hopefully we'll see you again soon. But, so yeah, I went to work. No radios playing. Nobody knew anything about planes hitting buildings in New York. Came out at lunchtime, got in my truck, went to go get some food, started hearing what was going on. Couldn't really understand it. Place I pulled through, I asked them what the hell was going on. They let me know. I ran over to a Radio Shack that was nearby, picked up a wind-up radio, and got my helper paid to keep the wind-up radio wound up for the rest of the day. Where I was not too far from the Houston Ship Channel. And, well, just about everybody down here in this area knows the emergency radio goes across almost all the channels. So we made sure to put it on a channel that they always blast. And we had radio for the rest of the day. But what I was expecting was somebody would fly a damn plane up into the Houston Ship Channel and take out one of those refineries, with the completely possible expectation that those refineries could start a chain reaction which would literally cripple America. That didn't happen, but we were close enough to the ship channel that I didn't want it to happen. Not while I was there. I wanted to be able to get out if we could. No big deal. Just being honest about this. Yeah, it pulled my heartstrings. It made me feel some sort of way. I was damn near pissed off to go and re-enlist. But I looked at my life at the point in time where that was happening. And I realized that I had slowed down quite a bit. And I just didn't feel up to going back through all of that all over again. I'd already been through it once, and it'd been several years that I'd already been out. Thank you, Paul. By the way, great to see you, sir. Hopefully the plumbing that you were fixing doesn't make your back hurt as much as the air duct that I fixed the other day. My back is still a little tender. You will see the pipe? Okay, I'll show you the pipe. It is a one of a kind. If you showed up, that says VRX21. Yeah, Paul, believe me, I thought it was I thought I was okay too. And then I laid down and went to bed, and it took me about 25 minutes to get out of bed this morning because my back was all stiffened up. And then I went to go into the bathroom and realized that with my back stiff, I wasn't going to be any good at aiming it. So I sat down, and then it was hard as hell to get back up. And then I still had to do all my little chores. You know, trash goes out on Saturday, and there's a little bit of things that you still have to do. Oh, thank you, Sharon. I appreciate that. This was a first ever attempt at making a pipe, and it is horribly bad. I see all the flaws. That's all I see in it. But then I smoke it, and it smokes so damn nice. Gary, yes, sir. Way more than I'm letting on. But there is no way to win in Afghanistan. All right, Scott. Have a good one. I'll still be on for about another hour anyways. I got a lot of pipe to smoke. There are a lot of lives that were lost trying to secure a reasonable government in Afghanistan. And you know who's laughing the most at the Americans and the Brits that died over there? Russia. Because guess who kicked the crap out of Russia? That's right, Afghanistan. And they might not have a standing army that's worth a damn. They might not have a government that you would ever want to have. But they are some damn fierce fighters. They don't give up anything. And just when you think that it's all good, they come up out of the woodwork like damn ants on a kicked mound. Russia figured it out. They finally stopped going into Afghanistan. Hey, you don't believe me? Go watch the movie Miracle. It would be based upon information from the 1979 through 1980. When all the Americans on the planet were saying, get out of Afghanistan. And they were telling that to the Russians. Yeah, there's no way to win in Afghanistan. That's an unwinnable situation. The area is so crazy mountainous that you might be 10 yards from a person and you still can't get to them because it's straight up a cliff, or it's across a valley that you can't jump across without traveling 3 miles to get that 10 yards. And there's quite literally no good to be gained by attacking those people. They don't have much, and they are willing to die for it. A friend of mine who was in Afghanistan, he said he had bread in a local village. They brought food out. They were eating it, and it was just fine. And he bit into a piece of bread, and he noticed that it was a little crunchy. And he looked into the edge from where he had bitten, and he could see what appeared to be the legs of a roach. And for them, they're so poor that they're not throwing it out just because there's a roach in it. That's good bread. Eat that shit. That is very true, Gary. Not only do they know their mountains like the back of their hand, they also know every little cave and rock in every chunk of their nearby areas. Gary, it's just statement of facts. I'm not disagreeing with you there. And I don't believe that they've done so much bad in this world that they need to be nuked into non-existence. I do believe that there are many good people over there. But I also believe that there's a group of people over there that wants to be in power, and they're willing to fight and die for it. There's no good way to fight that. Quite honestly, if they'll just stick to Afghanistan and not try to come out and start doing crazy stuff to America, America will probably leave them alone from this point on. Sure, we might be a little bit pissed off at our president for the way that the pull out happened. But I don't think we're going to be so pissed off that we're willing to send more troops in just to prove a point. But then again, about about the same time something like this happens again, you better be prepared, because America will lace up those damn combat boots and go right back into it. It's not a good war. There's no such thing as good war. It's not a winnable situation. But it'll bring out a crap ton of misery all the way around. Howdy, Ben. Great to see you, sir. So if any of y'all would like a good long opportunity to share some of your memories from 20 years ago, go ahead, type them in. I will try to help out with that as best we can. Don't worry, YouTube will probably end up yanking this video as well as my whole channel, because they claim that I'm spreading medical misinformation. Quite honestly, if the amount of people that have died from a vaccine, if it was to happen 40 years ago, that vaccine would have been pulled off the market entirely. And it never would have even gotten past the initial human testing stages 40 years ago. There's been a whole lot of government and big pharma trickery going on, you know. They got that shell game going. Oh, yeah, they don't have any liability. They're trying to help us all. And nobody knows what in the heck the damn vaccine's going to be doing to people, 20, 25 years from now. Nobody knows. Think about that. There are drugs out there on the planet that are considered safe, that they are now finding cause various different issues and are now suddenly, oh my God, you can be sued for it. I think the latest one that's interesting, Zantac somehow causes something, and people are now being able to sue on a, what is it, where a big bunch of people get together and sue a company. The words got lost in my head. I'm sure some of y'all know exactly what I'm talking about, but yeah, Zantac, which is supposed to be for heartburn, pretty much safe. They found out in a certain percentage of people it's not safe. Yes, class action. There it is, Ben. I appreciate your help there. Maybe it's because I have no class. I get plenty of action though, so we'll take my half over the class part. But yeah, class action suits are now going out against Zantac. Zantac was being sold over the counter. It went through all the trials. It was deemed safe. And suddenly it's not safe anymore. It's weird. Ben, that is interesting. So Ben, 20 years ago, was in 5th grade in upstate New York. And you're claiming that you watched the towers on TV that day. I can see why, yeah. And then spent the rest of the year prepping a Praise America Day. Very reasonable. Gary, no, actually, I don't remember thalidomide. But then again, here in America, it might have had some sort of fancy little nickname. Hey, y'all remember when Roundup, the weed killer, was completely safe to use for everybody? Suddenly it comes out that the damn stuff is a carcinogen. It was out there for over-the-counter sales for decades. And that's my point about this vaccine. It's been out there for less than a year now, I guess. Maybe it's been over a year now. I'm a little foggy on when it was actually first put out there. Maybe it was a little over a year. Maybe it's under a year. But it's not been out there long enough to run the full safety protocol tests on it. The government lifted that, the United States government anyways, lifted that requirement. They said, hey, get something that works. We don't care what it is. Basically. Oh, okay. Yeah, no, I did not know that there was a drug out there that caused a bunch of birth defects. Okay, short limbs, arms, legs, real tiny. Okay. Yeah. And they gave it to pregnant women? Yeah, I don't know. Unless doctors were out there trying to prove that they could recreate the Lollipop Guild, I wouldn't know what to tell you. If there's been drugs out there that have been out there for decades, they're now proving to be dangerous. Regular Tylenol. They have found that it causes certain bad things in your kidneys and liver. I'm betting one of those things is kidney stones. Because after I shattered a kneecap, I was sucking down Tylenol on a fairly regular basis. Just for generalized, massive aching pain. It was enough to take the edge off that I could actually get to sleep. Oh, but you shouldn't be taking that damn much of it. Well, man, you know what? The statement for that didn't come out until after I was already taking it. I know that stuff was out for 60 plus years before it actually became unsafe. Paracetamol. does not exactly ring a bell, but then again, I was never a pregnant woman. Sorry to spread that medical misinformation. Or maybe it should be called medical fact. I was always alive with my Y chromosomes, and therefore I could never be a pregnant woman. Don't worry, YouTube's probably going to ban my videos, like I said, probably my whole channel as well. Don't worry, I'll find a way to be back, even if they get crazy. Paracetamol still doesn't ring familiar to me. That doesn't mean that it wasn't out there. That just means that I probably wasn't paying attention or wasn't in a location where I was able to pay attention to that drug when everything came through. But for a while there, I was really disconnected with the world because I was in the Army and I was wherever they were saying I was. And I listened to, well, the only radios I really listened to were right there connected to me. Okay, so paracetamol is basically acetaminophen. Okay. Wow, I didn't actually know that it was causing birth defects. Really? Didn't know. Thank you for doing some of that research there, Dan. I appreciate it. Now, if Dan was wrong and I've just been fed misinformation, I apologize now. I haven't verified that Tylenol is paracetamol in various other places, but I will be looking it up later. You can pretty much expect that if I've been given misinformation, I will, of course, mention that in a future video. Should I be allowed to have a future video? Because Lord knows, YouTube's trying to tell me that my information disagrees with their information. And their information comes from the WHO. And because the WHO has the word world in its title, they must be right. Except for when the science and medical research that's done here in Houston doesn't actually agree with them 100%. And then the WHO still must be right, according to YouTube. Y'all just remember that. I'm not trying to piss off YouTube or Google or Alphabet Incorporated by going against the WHO. But I do believe that the WHO can also make mistakes. And I also believe that given enough information, you can pick and choose just the information that you want to pick and choose, and then you can argue for or against anything on the planet. you don't believe me, I can probably convince you that 2 plus 2 is 5 if I get enough information out there that I can somehow push that idea. Now, such a simple idea is not even in question. 2 plus 2 is definitely 4. But I did say, given enough information, I can pick and choose enough to argue for or against any point on the planet and still only be using facts. Well, Gary, I was just using that to illustrate that with enough time and enough information, I can figure out a way to argue for or against just about anything. But I do like to keep all of my arguments as fact-based, provable by facts. But I also like it when people want to tell me I'm wrong, and then I have enough facts that back up my statements that I can overload anything they can possibly come against me. They try and then they lose. They lose badly. I love it when that happens. And yes, people have been losing to me on arguments for years because I learned very early on, if you don't have enough fact to back up your claim, not just one or two facts, but I mean string them out together so that they will see miles of facts coming at them, and then they will either agree with you or they will come up with the let's just agree to disagree, which is their statement of, I know I'm wrong, but I know I can't prove it, and I know that you're not wrong, but I don't want to admit it. I don't mind it when they're wrong and they don't want to admit it. That's exactly what I hear when people say, let's just agree to disagree. How about you agree with the facts and then we can agree to agree? Because we're only going to agree if we only agree that the facts are still fact. Hey, past that. I don't care. And look, if somebody can prove it to me factually, I'm willing to admit I'm wrong. I mean, my wife tells me I'm wrong all the time. Doesn't mean I'm going to admit to it. She doesn't provide any facts about me being wrong. She just says in her opinion I'm wrong. Of course, judging by the opinion of most of the women in my life, I am the world's only colorblind Amish electrician. Because you can't get much more wrong than that. If I walked out and said the sky was blue, they would wait until there's enough clouds in the sky so that they could run back out there and they could say, the sky is gray. No, the sky is still blue. The clouds are gray. Hey, what? Oh. What facts? Just saying. Oh, and yes, that actually happened to me. And it was right after I said, look, if I told you right now the sky was blue, you would tell me I was wrong. And my mother in law literally said, well, right now the sky is gray. Hello, you just proved my point. Uh-oh. That's dangerous. Keep going, Gary. I want to see where this is going. I'm not gonna tell your joke, but I'll let everybody read it. It's got to be a joke. But while you're typing in this joke, I'm gonna let this cat in the door. He seems to want in. Oh, back's killing me. Oh. Oh God. Oh. Yeah. A little tender. Oh, and by the way, no, in no way, shape, or form would I be mad at YouTube or Google or Alphabet Incorporated if they would at least provide some basis of where exactly they believe I have spread medical misinformation, so that I can at least make a statement for or against causing their concerns to be removed and making it so that I do not repeat the same statements again and again and again. But if they are going to not provide any guidance upon what specifically they thought was wrong on Thursday's tailgate, I am unable to correct the issue, so it's going to happen again. This is just their way of saying they don't like me. And believe me, I will find another way to be back, and they're going to not like me at that point also. So he puts $10 in the cash register, $2 in his pocket, and gives the ladies $1 back each. There is the $15 in total. But if the ladies got $1 back, they only paid for each, totaling, of course, $12. $12. because 4 times 3 is $12. So you have to remember, the ladies actually only paid 10 because that's all that went into the register. And by wording, it's meant to confuse you slightly. $10 in the register, 2 in his pocket, that's making 12, 3 back to them, which makes 15. Gary, I like these games, but I pay way too much attention. It comes from A, long career as an electrician, and B, a decently long career as a boiler inspector. Both jobs, if you don't pay attention, it can kill you. Including, I was one time sent a gas detection meter that was supposed to beep if it detected unsafe levels. In my front yard, it would beep every 15 seconds. In the chemical plants, it would not shut up. So something was malfunctioning. It was completely gone haywire. So I had to ship it back to the company. They wanted to know what was wrong with it. Of course, they wouldn't turn it on. They just wanted to know what was wrong with it. So my little medical journal, or my little gas meter journal that was Gary, it's not impossible to solve. 10 in the register, 2 in his pocket, $1 each back to them is still $15. It's when you start looking at it as they only paid $12 that it starts doing the math in a different direction. Which is the basis of how I could probably end up proving that 2 plus 2 is 5 in one way, shape, or form. Because we multiply that situation out by 3, and of course, there it is. Bill, you are absolutely correct, sir. Come to find out, the calibration gas that they sent me was completely the wrong crap. and it had literally burned out one of the sensors, so it was going to beep no matter what. And I had to find a damn safe place that I could get rid of that bottle of gas in an approved manner. That fell on me to do that. It was ridiculous. But yes, the air monitor that I was supposed to be using on a pretty much daily basis was malfunctioning from get-go because the gas they sent me was the wrong gas. And then they wanted to blame me for using the wrong gas. That was fun. You broke our equipment. You used the wrong gas. I used the gas y'all sent me. Well, you must have used the wrong gas. Okay, well then you must have sent me the wrong gas. You must have used something other than what you sent, what we sent you. Air in my backyard and the gas in the bottle you sent me. Oh, and then I used it in locations that were much more toxic than your average regular guy, because I was going into chemical plants and your regular guys are not. Take care, Gary. It's been great having you here, sir. So, Phil, while we got you here, 20 years ago, as the world was literally changing in the space of about 2 hours, where were you and what was going on? 20th anniversary show. Come on. We can do this. This should be allowed. I believe YouTube should allow this. Phil, you're probably right, because I was the only one going into places where hydrocarbons were going to be prevalent. So they sent me the right gas and the wrong monitor. Cool. Maybe that was what it was. But then blaming me for screwing up their equipment, that was not cool. So Phil says he was working and that he remembers when they shut down the Canadian border right at about 20 years ago. And there were lines of trucks stuck there for days. That would have been miserable. I've actually been to the Canadian border, fairly close to where Phil is probably speaking about, if not the exact same one. or at least the border crossing that happens to be there. I could see it. I could see trucks lined up and just stuck there because nobody's going in, nobody's going out. Anybody else got interesting memories they would choose to share from 20 years ago? Of course, Ben Greenman was in the 5th grade. That had been a rough time. I know that I was in the 5th grade when the Challenger explosion happened, and it really didn't affect me as much as 9/11. I know that just previously, before 9/11, Tropical Storm Allison came through and literally beat the ever-loving stuffings out of Houston for about 21 days. And in the same year, I believe Enron was brought low by their horrible everything. But I couldn't tell you the day that Allison actually made shorefall. I couldn't tell you the day that $10,000 of my money just basically turned into 20 cents. Yeah, I had Enron stock. Thanks. Oh, and I was offshore at the time when it happened, so guess who couldn't get to a bank and sell? Yeah. Couldn't get out fast enough. Problem is, I was stuck offshore and didn't even know that it happened. Awesome. The Astros were playing in Enron Field at the time. It's now called Minute Maid Park. But 9/11, it was a Tuesday. It was bright and sunshiny. It was a perfect day. Very similar to what it is right now. Things could not have been better when I got to work. Things could not be worse when I went to lunch. And things only got worse from there for everybody. The whole world. Phil, I did not know that. I figured that probably happened, but I didn't know that for an actual specific statement. That's fairly interesting. I know that they brought back information enough that everybody was still alive until impact with water. Of course, from as high up as they were, by the time they impacted water, let's just say that they were going so fast that when they hit water, it would have been like hitting a brick wall. And at the speeds they were going, they were either instantly dead or they were completely devoid of all consciousness enough that as they sank to the bottom of whatever chunk of water they were in, they wouldn't have woke up. As it was, they were probably broken into hundreds of little bits or just turned into jelly. Broad spectrum, realistic horribleness. Best I can tell you there. And no, that's not misinformation, medically speaking. Remember, I live in Houston. We kind of have NASA right here. Morning. What'd you miss? Nothing much, Martin. Nothing much at all. Just a few things from 20 years ago. Just a crazy few things from 20 years ago. You know, buildings crumbling, buildings falling out of the sky, buildings splitting like a banana peel. New York City skyline looking like a bomb had gone off. Oh, and a statement from YouTube saying that I spread misinformation medically on Thursday's tailgate. Except for they will not divulge to me what information they believe is in direct violation with their specific statement of, well, the WHO says this. Hey, I live in Houston. I bet you I have more hospitals within 100 miles of me than the WHO visits in a year. You want to bet? I'd love to take that bet. You'll get beat all to hell and back. There are thousands of hospitals here in the Houston area, and a lot of them are so specialized that they literally do like one specific type of medicine. Over pipe? No, that is not going to be the first quote-unquote violation. Let's see, they've removed my stuff for copyright supposed violations also. Apparently, if you play even a snippet of a song that's from the radio, you can get completely destroyed. Okay, even if you tell everybody who the artist is, what album it came from, how to get a hold of their music, they can still say, oh, it's a copyright violation. Zip, your shit's gone. So, yes, YouTube, I've asked for an RFI, request for information. You seem unwilling to divulge the information of what specific statement that I somehow made that you disagree with because of your WHO standards. Thereby, I cannot go to the WHO and ask them how come the information that's coming out of Houston, the same medical community that takes care of people in power when they are, oh my God, deathly sick, whether it be from like cardiac troubles or shot in the head, or, oh my God, just about, well, whatever. But yeah, they all seem to end up in Houston when shit hits the fan. But the WHO ain't talking to us here in Houston. So we look at our own hospital systems, and we know how to actually aggregate that information and come up with some fact-based statements. So YouTube, if you don't like it, come on down to Houston. I'm willing. Ben, that is weirdly troubling. I did know that the architect was Japanese. I also knew that there was a guy that took a tightrope walk from the top of one of the towers to the top of the other tower. No net, no safeties. Just a long ass pole and a tight ass rope. Cable. It had to have been a cable. It had to have been strong enough to support without like sagging horribly in the middle, or he'd have been stuck out there. Yeah, Ben, I couldn't have done it. Not without a parachute. Give me a parachute, I'd be right out there with you. But no. No parachute, no, not happening. So officially, right now, I would like y'all to remind yourselves, this live stream has been going on longer than it took for the towers to become completely destroyed from the first instant that the first plane flew into one of them. I've been on for 1 hour 58 minutes. Which means I've been on for about 10 minutes more than it took for it to all completely transpire. By now, the world was still just staring at television screens, gasping at the horrors. Okay, there were some out there that were staring at the television screens and cheering their side because they thought they had scored some sort of major victory. 20 damn years of war later, I don't think that that was such a good idea. Well, I'll tell you, I stopped working offshore when I lost $10,000 to Enron. And I had a little job that I was able to do because, you know, electricity is electricity. Took my offshore license and turned it into a City of Houston license. And then there was I forgot the acronym. Something like Southern States Building Code. Which, don't quote me on that. You gotta remember, it's been a few years and quite a few drinks since then. Anyways, I had both of them, and the City of Galveston. You had to have those 3 licenses realistically to work electricity here in this local area. It wasn't until 04 or 05 when the state of Texas went with a full state license. Which got real crazy, real quick. I will tell you, I did not have a TV when it happened because I was at work. As I've stated a few times, I went out and bought a wind-up radio. Oh, and I went back to work the very next day. Because for me, the next day was a Wednesday, and I had a job to do. And back then, I didn't have a cell phone. So, my boss would call me at home, and I would call him back, or I would go into the office. I didn't have a cell phone, so it's not like we had instant communications back then. There were cell phones available. Don't get me wrong. I didn't say that there weren't cell phones available. I just said that I didn't have one. Didn't have one, nor did I want one. You know, from when the towers fell, it still took me another almost 4 years before I had a cell phone. I worked for 2 other companies in that amount of time. Hey, Scott. You had it worse than prisoners of state-run institutions. I had internet at home. It was dial-up, but I had it. Good old AOL. Good Lord, no car or heat. Hopefully you live somewhere near Florida or southern Texas, because you don't need heat in Florida or southern Texas. Just saying. Yes, you've got mail. That voice was amazing in its complete, just want to slap the hell out of somebody. Though I guess it was a decent movie. What was it? Tom Hanks, Meg Ryan? Though what Tom Hanks was doing with Goose's ex-wife, I don't know. She must have liked the boring life after she got rid of Goose. Just saying. Athens, Georgia was cold. Well, you probably had some way to burn wood or something. Martin, I can honestly say I have never seen The Burbs. And only 2 or 3 times have I seen your daughter. Of course, that was on the Let Her Rip Friday show when she shows up and jacks with the garage door and then comes in to apologize about it. Or when you make her sit down in the jump seat and make her talk to us. Yes. It's hilarious. Well, I'll take your word for it. You also think dad jokes are hilarious. Martin, you remember all those times you pick on me? Comes back to bite you in the ass, doesn't it? I don't mind. You're not going to offend me, but remember, I play too. Scott had the proverbial 3-dog night. Hopefully there was at least 3 dogs. I understand those ways of keeping warm. I tell you, the best way to keep warm on a cold winter night if you don't have heat is make sure that you've got a real sexy wife. And if you're starting to get older and it starts to lose its effectiveness, I would suggest maybe some Viagra or Cialis. Martin, come on now. Your little Trump thing where you were trying to say something about me, that wasn't about anything other than you picking on me, and that's okay. I'm okay with it. It does not offend me. I laugh hysterically about it. Yeah, I'm just not for a big hairy dog over a hot and sexy wife. Not even if it's going to get you some doggy style. So Martin, what were you doing 20 years ago today? You know where you were. You know what you were doing. Ben, not really so much about a large wife. You got to remember, if the covers don't pretty much lay flat across the both of you at the same time, once you've expended all the energy you possibly have, it leaves gaps for the air, and that can be cold. Being in character as Trump, come on, you didn't know. Come on now. Which school, Martin? Come on, you had to have been out of high school by that time. Unless you were really, really bad at school. Large hairy wife sounds even warmer. Yes, she can talk to you like. And you can say that no more are you a Wookiee rookie. Floyd College at school at the time. Yes, but Martin, if you were talking about still being in high school in 2001, when you would have graduated naturally by 94 or 95 or 96 at the latest, then you had to have been really horrible at school if you were still in high school. Are you that much younger than me, Martin? Well, I guess, yeah. I mean, you're... If you're 42, then yeah, I guess you are. Oh, you're only 41, okay. God, it's like I'm talking to kids. I thought you said you were 42. I try to pay attention, Martin. That's what gets a lot of those people in trouble, so that they think I'm not paying as much attention as I actually am. And as I've said before, it's just a bad part about being an electrician. You learn to pay attention to the little things, because it's those little things that will literally knock you across the room if you're lucky, or just plain kill you. Martin, don't lie. If it wasn't for McFly, your Friday show would happen on Thursdays. A week late. Something tells me McFly is all about, Dad, the show's about to start. We gotta go. We gotta get the show. We gotta do the show. Come on now. We love McFly. He's awesome. Well, Martin, you said you lived in Texas and then were somehow excommunicated out of Texas. So I could believe that maybe you are like Ozzy. When did you piss on the Alamo, though? Now we know why you had to leave. So you were at Floyd College. What were you studying at Floyd? And did they like break into a class and tell y'all what the fuck was going on? Or did they just like wait until you figured it out and then surprise? Yeah, perhaps different. Business administration. So you got a BS in BA. Or is that a BA in BS? Went to work. Heck, like I said, I was at work. I didn't know shit had even happened. I had to wait until lunch, and then I was told by the girl in the drive-thru. I know it was a girl in the drive-thru because she was looking at me like, how in the hell do you not know what's actually going on? Hey, guess what? I didn't know. Work for me was just fine. A little scary though, because like I said, being that close to the Houston Ship Channel, there's certain things that could be extremely volatile and not very good for somebody slamming a plane into. Kansas State University. Were you a Jayhawk? Or is that the other Kansas? Ben, hopefully he is still alive. If he is, let him know that we appreciate all that he did for us. Probabilities are he is out of the military by now. If he's still in and still doing it, tell him we said hoorah. Kennesaw State. What? That's not KSU. Don't ever write down that it's KSU. Come on now. Howdy Pine. Howdy, sir. By the way, Desert Pine, what were you doing 20 years ago? I mean, we all know what we were staring at 20 years ago. Life in New York had greatly modified life in the whole entire world in the space of about 2 hours. But it'd be good to get your take on what were you doing? What's your recollection of that time? You'll write it how you waste. I'm pretty sure that that S is supposed to be an N. You never went to Kansas State University, just like people in Tennessee should not be calling University of Tennessee UT. Good Lord. Jim, that's I'm betting y'all were freaking out a bit then. But I guess you were Air Force at that point in time, huh? USC, University of Southern California, not University of South Carolina. Yeah, Jim, you had that kind of job at that point. That y'all already knew you were at war. Whether the whole world knew that y'all were at war or who even the enemy was, the men and women of the military, they knew. We're officially at war. This is not the kind of thing that just happens. Y'all don't believe it? Think about Pearl Harbor. Planes doing crazy things to American supplies and equipment. Yeah, it didn't work too well for World War II. Germany, Italy, and Japan lost World War II because the Japanese decided to attack Pearl Harbor. Of course, the Japanese were trying to knock out the entirety of the American naval possibilities because they were choking off the ability of Japan to get enough oil and gas to supply any kind of a war effort. So it was catch-22. Damned if they do, but just as damned if they didn't. That's just military history. Y'all don't have to believe that statement. You can look it up. It's the truth. The United States was not at war with Japan, but they were blockading certain things. And it was going to get real tight in Japan trying to do a war effort without fuel. Planes don't fly, ships don't sail, tanks don't roll, supplies don't get delivered. Your war effort fails. Actually, Martin, that might be true. That might be extremely true. If it was a small enough contingent that they could supply themselves off of what was available from the island and the nearby waters around the island, it's very possible. But if it was only men on the island, no, I'm pretty sure some of them are pretty much all of them are gone now. But there were several islands that were just, you know what, it's not even worth our time. We can hop, skip, and jump over this one, and it's not that big of a deal. And I'm fairly certain that Japan kept good enough records that they didn't just leave those guys out there waiting on an invasion that obviously the war is over, it's not going to happen. I do have friends that are Japanese. And just think, 5 years later, after World War II, Korea happened, there's actually a Japanese American citizen that received the Medal of Honor for his actions in Korea. Still alive, last I checked, 95 years old, lives in New Mexico. His first name is Hiroshi. His last name is like Miura or something like that. Don't get me to going on the last name. Howdy, Skip. Great to see you there, sir. Skip, what were you doing 20 years ago? Actually, Martin, I did see the Hiroshima and Nagasaki memorials, and of course, I've seen, because there's several. Depending upon which one you look at, they all tell a slightly different story. Because there was the imperial ones, and then there was the state worker ones. They were a very caste system at that point. It's kind of confusing a little bit to me. Good Lord, underway on a ballistic missile submarine. Skip, did you immediately know that y'all were at war, or was it just one of those, y'all were just waiting for orders to be said that you were at war, or was it one of those up in the air things where it was confusing? Y'all have to remember, my time in the Army, I was never actually at war. Desert Pine has it correctly. Like I said, Miyamura. Yes, Hiroshi Miyamura. Think about it. 5 years after Japan was our enemy, there's a guy quite literally at the end of the Korean War, after prisoner exchanges, who was getting a Medal of Honor. His story is amazing and terrifying if you think about it. Every once in a while I look up crazy stuff. Sometimes when I get into military stuff, I just start looking and keep digging for whatever reason. Like, until this actual year, I did not consciously think about it. But Audie Murphy, one of the most decorated people that the military ever had, he was a Texan. Or at least at the time of his death. Maybe it was he lived in Texas. I'll have to go back. I came across that information and was just like, really? He was Texas? Huh, interesting. Skip, yeah. Yeah. I can believe that. I definitely believe that. Well, I said I was only going to stick around to the end of this bowl, and it's getting pretty close. Oh, and in case y'all see that I'm somehow blocked or whatever from YouTube and YouTube usage, it's because YouTube says that I spread misinformation medically. And they won't give me information about where they are feeling that I'm spreading this misinformation. So it's impossible for me to delete such statements from my normal train of thought. So yeah, they're probably going to end up banning me at some point, because I've probably said it 5 or 6 times. Bet you they're checking all of my crap now. I think it's so that they can get rid of me, because they don't believe the way I believe. And I don't give a shit if they don't believe the way I believe. Yes, definitely, Ben. Thank you, Skip and Jim. Appreciate all of y'all's sacrifices. I know it couldn't have been exactly fun right after it happened. No, Martin, it's from last Thursday's. Literally, go look for my last Thursday video, because it's gone. They removed it. I can't do much about them removing my videos when they won't tell me what it is they disagreed with so vehemently that they felt it necessary to remove my videos. I asked for, can you at least give me a rough estimated timestamp of my video so that I can go back and I can review exactly what y'all are saying is a violation of your specific policies. And all they'll give me is, well, you've spread information that's different from the WHO. Well, if the WHO information does not agree with the information that's coming out of Houston, then it's really, really difficult for me to specifically say, oh, well, this is the problem, and I'll just stop talking about that. So it's obvious that their standards are they completely want to shut me down some way, shape, form, or whatever. Because of their lack of ability to be forthcoming about their information and what specifically they feel has been said on my channel that has violated their guidelines. I asked them for information they won't share. Steph, I don't mind going on earlier. Skip, I believe that with the present administration, the Attorney General will probably sue me on their behalf more than anything else. Mostly because I said, look, the government's in bed with Big Pharma. They gave them carte blanche and zero liability. Here's a vaccine. We're going to make it mandatory now. Hello? I played guinea pig when I was in the Army. I'm not about to do it now. Oh, the Texas Attorney General. You know, he very well might. He very well might. Now, the WHO does not like discussings of hydroxychloroquine or ivermectin. And yes, ivermectin has been used to treat parasites in animals. It was also used to treat people in Africa with good results for what they found that they were trying to treat. Who won a Nobel Prize? Who won a Nobel Prize in Japan? I must have missed it. I scrolled up to see your last comment there, Martin, and I'm not sure where the Nobel Prize in Japan is coming from. Oh, for ivermectin. Yes. Didn't know that it actually had won a Nobel Prize in Japan. That's interesting. I will look more into that. Ivermectin is considered safe when prescribed by a doctor in reasonable doses. Okay, well, damn, saccharin was considered safe until it wasn't. Hey, what am I supposed to tell you? Medical people change their minds a lot. Okay, so you're making French toast. That sounds like a really nice thing for you to be doing for a German wife. Think about it. Think about it. But yes, okay, so a guy from Japan won a Nobel Prize for using ivermectin with humans. It's pretty interesting. But the WHO says we shouldn't talk about that. Okay, that's fine. We shouldn't, I guess. Hydroxychloroquine was used to treat President Trump. The WHO also does not want us to talk about hydroxychloroquine. Where can you go where some foreign to your relations to the world agency is able to put out whatever information they want to, but if you fact checked your information back, you would see that there is alternate information that is still just as valid. And YouTube is refusing to allow it because some foreign organization with the word world in their title has put out their own specific beliefs and is refusing to allow anything other than new items. They're not going to go back and say, oh yeah, well, we could have used this other drug to treat people, these things that have we've proven it to be safe for human use in reasonable. Oh. So what you're saying is Customs and Border Patrol is supposedly using a supply of ivermectin on illegal immigrants that they capture to try and clear up the possibilities that they might be having COVID and trying to keep it from spreading. Okay, well, that might be true. I'll have to look that up. Scott, I do believe that you're completely correct. And the WHO goes back and changes its mind quite often, which is kind of scary because you never know what side of that line you're on at any given point, unless you are only watching the WHO for the exact statement of this is what they've actually come across as said at present. Yes, it's not an approved treatment for COVID, but approved by who? There are science and medical professionals that are seeing that ivermectin is having a decent effect upon those people with COVID. But is their science and medical professional opinion not valid because they don't specifically work for the WHO? Or is it that Big Pharma is, of course, dumping money into places to try and make sure that the narrative goes in exactly their way? Because, hey, we would love to make thousands upon thousands of dollars per treatment instead of $3 for ivermectin. Martin, that's also very, very true. And Pine, that is also very true. Yes, Martin, also true. The Emergency Authorization Act, which has allowed Big Pharma to have complete and total lack of liability. There's people that lived in this neighborhood, small neighborhood by the way, that got their COVID shot Went back to the hospital the next day, sick as a dog, and was dead the next day. Healthy people. I want more research before I ever get that shot. Is it going to cause major medical problems later on in life? I mean, sure, look, if you only got maybe 5-6 years left to live, it might actually be worth it. Of course, if it kills you, like it did the guy down the street, 5 houses down, good guy, liked him a lot. For those of you who were here yesterday, y'all heard me talking about Bob and the dog he walked named Marley. Yeah, well, Bob is gone. Marley is sad. Nobody walks Marley anymore. And I don't know the people who own Marley well enough to go down there and say, I'm here to walk your dog. Now, unfortunately, those people who've been screaming, my body, my choice for years, are suddenly now not really going to be told my body, my choice, because, hey, you know what? I agree with them. Their body, their choice. But make a choice inside of a reasonable amount of time. Don't sit there and go backwards and forwards 25,000 times and then wait until it's too damn late. But when things become mandatory, it's no longer my body, my choice in any way, shape, or form of the word. It's you will get it or you will face consequences. Scott, you take care. Hopefully your dog gets a good walk in. Yeah, well, Bob was also taking care of his elderly wife with dementia. And now it's fallen on either their kids or their grandchildren. I haven't actually seen who it is. I'm not sure who moved in to help take care of the elderly lady that was Bob's wife. I guess she's no longer his wife, being that he's dead. And with a person with dementia, do you know how horrible this kind of change is for them? Chances of her even knowing what in the hell's going on are pretty much zero. Is what it is. So look, I've been on for almost 3 hours. I feel almost as crazy as Chad. And I have heard my wife doing her normal her normal morning routine. So I'm fairly certain that I'm pretty short on time to be without being on Holly time. So I'm going to be getting out of here pretty quickly. Interesting way of putting that, Jim. You have a good day as well. And yes, Miss Bob and, of course, the dog named Marley is kind of a terrible example of information that the WHO doesn't want shared, but it's true nonetheless. He wasn't sick, got the shot, got sick, and then died. Anyways, y'all take care. Remember Take care of yourselves and each other. Do the best you can on that. If you feel that the shot is right for you, get it. If you are like me and you feel that the shot is not right for you, don't get it. If you have to wear a mask because you didn't take a shot, wear a mask. If you got the shot so that you don't have to wear a mask, that's on you. I have no problem wearing a mask. I'm good with it. I'm real good with it. In fact, I've got this pretty one right here that Skip hates. You want to see it? There you go. Raider Nation, baby. Maybe it was when I discussed how the Raiders are going to require people to have proof that they've had the shot so that they can go to a home game. But there's no way to prove without a picture ID that you've actually gotten the shot. And picture IDs are considered racist by voting standards, so shouldn't they still be considered racist by medical standards? Damn it. So many questions. I wish YouTube would just get back to me and tell me what it was specifically that they felt that I was spreading as misinformation so that I can go ahead and stop talking about it. But don't worry, they're going to have a long video here to try and figure all of that out. About 3 hours worth. I hope they had fun watching this. Especially that rant that happens right at the beginning. Don't worry, this video is probably getting erased as well. YouTube has proven that they don't like me, and I'm okay with that. I know that YouTube is owned by Google. Google is owned by Alphabet. And Alphabet is owned by a guy from Michigan and a guy from Russia. And even if they remove me entirely, I will still find a way to be back. You know that's going to happen. And you know it's going to piss them off greatly. And I won't mind a bit. Anyhow, as I said, y'all take care of yourselves, take care of each other. Do the best y'all can with that. Try not to violate YouTube community guidelines that are so vague as to be non-existent unless, of course, they feel like they need to slap you around with it. And, yeah, as always, long lives, big bowls, and long ashes. Y'all take care, and I will see you, well, here in a little while. Skip, I'm probably going to end up having to miss today, but that's because I've already been on here for 3 hours. The wife does get a little bit upset if I spend all day on YouTube. I'm trying not to piss her off is sometimes a little more difficult than I intended to be. Anyways, y'all take care. Loved having you here. Thank you so much for being here. Remember, this is the day that 20 years ago changed the world, and not necessarily for the better. Lots of things to think about. In the grand scheme of things, remember, we're all fairly small. But if we all do our best, maybe we can all make it better. Talk to y'all soon, and bye for now.